I got my 12-volt battery, got my jumper cables, got my Starlink router. What could go wrong? Obviously, jumper cables are probably not the proper way to power your Starlink system. We did install it over the summer. It's been working really well. The biggest issue that we've had is as the days have gotten shorter and we get some snowfall built up on the panels, we're just not producing enough power. And after about a week or so, the Starlink will eventually go down. But we get back up there, turn the generator on, get everything recharged, and we're back to operating without any issues. Outside of that one issue, it's really been pretty flawless. The app still works. I was kind of surprised when started doing the research that this little box is almost pointless. It's really just a Wi-Fi router and a 48-volt power supply for your dish. So that's really all that we're replacing is the power supply, and we're just using a different router to send out your Wi-Fi signals. So check this out. Hope you enjoy it. Consider subscribing if this is helpful for you. So we've been running Starlink for a little over a year now. One of the downsides being out here is that it runs off of AC power the way it's currently set up. I did a bunch of research. There's all kinds of little hacks that you can find on YouTube of how to wire up the standard Wi-Fi router and everything to run off of DC power. But I really didn't want to tear that thing apart and start soldering wires, which is basically what those things entail. Few people have started to make some little boxes and conversion kits for them, and I found this one. This one seems to be the best one that I can find right now. One of the huge upsides with these two pieces is going to be that your standard Starlink cable plugs in right here, and we'll show you that later once I get everything all wired together. And then if you're doing some of the other conversions, you've got to cut the cable, you've got to punch down the RJ45 connectors, and there's a crossing of some wires that you've got to make in there because it's a non-standard connection. But with both of these boxes, you don't have to worry about doing any of those funky, I think they call them X-crossed cables or whatever. You don't have to do any of that stuff. This just makes it nice, clean, easy install. Let's get into installing this stuff. So I picked out this real little cheap box that is basically like for Christmas lights. You put in your you put power strips in here to connect Christmas lights. It's just a little bit weatherproof, kind of protects everything. You can see right here I've got a couple of DC to DC converters. This is a 12 to 48 volt. The Starlink dish runs off of 48 volt DC power, and that's what's happening inside of your Wi-Fi router. You're bringing AC in, you're converting it over to DC, both to run the Wi-Fi and to run the dish. So AC to DC. Another way we could have powered this would have been a DC to AC converter, but all those conversions are robbing energy from the system, drawing more power than we actually need to. This should draw just a minimal amount of power and let us run our Starlink just off of the solar panels, and it should keep it live whenever we're not here. All right, so I'm working on getting everything wired up inside the box. I'm just about done. Junior's over here. Of course, anytime Dad's working on a project, Junior's got to get him a project going too. So he's doing something with some sticks and some pliers and stuff. Yeah, go ahead and tell him what you're doing.
So I'm trying to make sculptures out of these.
Oh, cool. He's making sculptures out of these sticks. So let's show you what we got going in here. So I've got everything mounted in here. This is my 12 to 48 volt DC to DC converter. This is my 12 to 12 volt converter. This is going to be my power coming in, my 12 volt coming in. Now you might ask why I have a 12 to 12 volt inverter in here, and that's because the Wi-Fi router, these cheapo Wi-Fi routers, you don't need anything fancy. A lot of Wi-Fi routers are actually 12 volt. Now, when you're charging with a solar panel or off a generator or something, you may see 13 or 14 volts. So you're going to want to go ahead and put in one of these DC to DC converters. That way you just get a true 12 volts out of it, supplying this little Wi-Fi router. It just keep this thing alive for a lot longer. And these things are super cheap. They're, I don't know, like 10 bucks or something. I'll put a link to everything that we're putting together here in the description. And you guys can check that out and pick out what's appropriate for you. So DC to DC converters, the Starlink factory cable plugs in here, comes out. This is our PoE injector. So I've got 48 volts coming into this. Having these two boxes is what prevents me from having to make the funky X-Cross special Starlink cable so that you can tie into the Starlink satellite. So that's what those two boxes are doing, and this is going to be coming out and going into my Wi-Fi router. So right now I'm just getting ready to cut the standard AC outlet. So what happens in here is this takes AC and turns it into 12 volt DC. So I'm literally just going to cut this guy right here, and I'm going to strip these wires back and hook them into these two wires, which are my 12 volt coming out. Now the way that I know which wire is which is on the plug. I don't know if you've seen those on these plugs. They've got usually like a circle and then like a dot in the middle and then lines coming off of each side, and most of the time the outside is negative and the inside is positive. So I don't know if you can see that down there, but that's how you determine what's what on here. So I'm just going to take my multimeter, I'm going to put it on the inside, figure out which one of these wires I have continuity going to. That will be my positive wire. I'll double check the other wire, that the outside piece here should be my negative, and then I'm just going to hook it up. My yellow wire is my DC converted positive, and black is ground. We're underneath the bed in the bedroom right now. That's where we're going to put this box. This is our 12 to 48 volt converter. You can see my wires. This is your 48 volts coming over here to the PoE injector. And then you can see right here we've got our Starlink factory plug connection that converts it over to an RJ45 and runs it over here. You don't have to do any of the funky cutting and swapping of wires or anything with this. That's one thing that makes this super nice. This is my 12 volt to 12 volt converter, and the reason why we did that is just because of when the system's charging, you're going to see more than 12 volts. So we wanted a pure 12 volts going to our router. So that's this wire, that's the power wire for my router. One nice thing about these little, they're kind of like a Christmas tree or Christmas light box, so that you can put power strips in them. They've got all these pre-made little knockouts that help keep it weather tight. This thing's inside. I wouldn't mount it outside, but the lid will slide right on. Holding this camera at a little funky angle, guys. Lid will slide right on. And it's got some nice little latches here to hold everything in place. And I'm going to take my router, just set it right up on top here. And when we put this in, we went ahead and checked the voltage. Everything was good. And we'll see how this thing does overnight. Ran it all night. Everything seemed to work good. No issues. We've got good internet. Why Starlink doesn't have a 12 volt kit, I don't know, because for off-grid applications, RV applications, this is huge. This is just really the way to go. You don't have to run your generator, and you've got you know, fast internet right out of the box. So I don't know, maybe Elon, if you're watching this, maybe you guys ought to think about putting out a 12 volt kit. You sell an RV package and you bill people accordingly, but you don't give them the option to plug into the 12 volt system. It would really be super simple to put it together. I think putting all this together took about an hour to get it wired. You can see right here, these are my wires going over. I've just got them temporarily run into over to the battery. I went ahead and put a fuse on there. I put a 15 amp fuse in there just to make sure that it was protected if something shorted out. But we're going to leave this thing running when we leave today, and hopefully the security camera that we're getting ready to put up will be able to send us pictures all week long while we're gone.